So Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League game has just been delayed to 2023. This was something that not a lot of people saw coming, and for most, I think it was somewhat expected. Nonetheless, I think we have to move on now to say DC fans, in terms of the video games, have been waiting for at least a decade now, in many cases, for the next game, depending on what studio you're looking at. If you're looking at Rocksteady, we're probably not going to be seeing anything for at least 8 years from the time that they released their last game, Batman Arkham Knight. In the case of Warner Brothers Games Montreal, they released their last game called Arkham Origins. Now, it's said that their game, which is called Gotham Knights, is supposed to still be on schedule for the 2022 year. Welcome to the Video Game Fight School channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. We enjoy talking about video games along the DC universe, and sometimes we'll dabble into the Marvel stuff. But today we're going to be looking at Gotham Knights because I'm certain that there might be people who are asking or wondering if Gotham Knights is probably going to be the next game to be delayed. Now, I made a video talking about the delay of the Suicide Squad game where I presented, in my opinion, what I felt was a solid case as to why I didn't think that the Suicide Squad game, its delay, was going to be in any way related to the Gotham Knights game. There are different logistics, there are different things that we know and we have data for right now, and I think it lends credence to why Gotham Knights and Hogwarts Legacy, not just, Gotham Knights, but Hogwarts Legacy, which is another DC game set to be released this year, are still on track to release. Now, I have to be honest and I have to be fair. The language that's being used, on track to be released in 2022, to me does not necessarily seem like some of the strongest of languages in a sense. But it doesn't still, mean that nothing is going to happen. If anything, I think, we still are in a good spot, judging that it's still just February, right? So you can still say, okay, it's February right now. So at any point in time that they have to make the announcement, there's probably going to be a 2, 3, or even 4-month window before the game is actually seen. But as time continues to tick without any information, without any marketing, I think that's when anxieties will start to, go up, because you could say all what you want. You could talk about, the possibility of the game coming out. But until we see something, it's challenging now, especially in today's day and age, for anyone to be able to take anything that's announced or proposed by development companies or their media firms at face value. Now, the constraints that hold Suicide Squad, in my opinion, and I shared this in a past video, is the fact that it is a next-gen, or what we call current-gen title. So the PlayStation 5s and the Xbox Series consoles are basically the target consoles or platforms for this particular game. Now, what's coincidental and interesting is on the day that we got this news that the Suicide Squad game was going to be postponed to 2023, the numbers of PlayStation 5 units sold were actually kind of revealed. I guess the estimated numbers, and the estimation showed that Sony had sold over 17 million PlayStation 5 consoles. But guess what? By the time Rocksteady was releasing Batman Arkham Knight, there were way more than 17 million PlayStation 4 consoles on the market at that time, and also probably a huge slew of Xbox One consoles. In today's day and age, there are probably maybe 18, 19 million PlayStation consoles, because the numbers on IGN's article said over 17 million. So I'm throwing in an extra 3 million. And then in the case of the Xbox Series console, the estimated numbers are around 12 million as well. Compare this to the possible 100 or almost 200 million consoles from PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. You'll see that a game that has a wide generational platform like Gotham Knights is a higher likelihood in terms of a candidate of a video game that's going to be released next or very soon, because it doesn't face the constraints of having to deal with a very select number of consoles. And again, what I think too is Gotham Knights, in its sense, its delays or its own challenges in a sense, which I've mentioned many times in this, in this line of discussion, is that you do have, the task of having to develop this game for multiple characters and develop a coherent story around them, because this game is vying to take on a traditional story-driven role, but also they try to add kind of a middle ground co-op system, which honestly, I don't think is necessary. I wish they would just backtrack and say, we no longer want to do this anymore because, it doesn't really seem to make sense to me, anyways, for the game. But again, it's just two players. It's not really a big deal. But again, I think that alone adds another layer of complexity because you're going to design these four knights: Robin, Red Hood, Batgirl, and Nightwing. And when you put all of them in the game, you then have to design the networking system, the replication system that actually works with these. These are not easy systems to come up with, and as we've seen, it appears to be that some of these things are causing delays for the game itself. It could also be, though, that optimization issues might also be something that the game is probably finding difficult to put to rest. This is what happened to Cyberpunk 2077. So even though fans may be eager to not see Gotham Knights delayed, I doubt that there's any fan that wants to experience the same thing that Cyberpunk 2077 on the PlayStation experienced. Because if you play Cyberpunk 2077 right now on the PlayStation 5 or on the Xbox Series X or on PC, the game runs very smooth. It just happened to be that the PlayStation 4 version on the release was not optimized and not done very well. I think this was the biggest challenge that they had that caused them to make some delays down the road. And the rumors actually, said something along the lines of that. Even their, reason for delaying the game to December of 2020 included the fact that they were trying to optimize the game across multiple platforms. They even said it themselves. One of the reasons we need a little bit of time is because we're trying to optimize across Xbox Series console, the Stadia version, and all of this stuff. And I think, to me, this is probably where Gotham Knights is, because if you look at this trailer, if you look at some of the different, shots and some of the different action scenes that they get together for this game, most of them seem like they're already from the game itself. The game seems to already be in a very solid place for them to be able to get these trailers and stuff, because they're using Unreal Engine. Unreal Engine is capable of rendering all this stuff in some of the highest and best quality. I think where the challenge is do they have the consoles that can actually play the games right now in the way that they are? And so this is a question that Warner Brothers Games Montreal is going to have to answer. And, whoever may be even helping them develop also may have to answer that as well. I don't know if sometimes whenever these games are being developed over, different platforms, many of these studios will kind of outsource the PC development to, another external studio out there. And so that studio also has their work cut out for them, because as much as they're going to be doing the PC version of the game, the console version of the game has to also have things that are, in a sense, similar, or things that actually make both games run in a very interesting and similar way. So you may be in a position where, the console versions, because of its control methodology, its cameras, compared to a mouse and keyboard system, these things have to kind of align. So there is a lot of work that's gone, in my opinion anyways, into developing Gotham Knights because of the complexity of the game and the way they've introduced it. And I think there's a lot more complexity for the Suicide Squad game. And we just necessarily haven't come to a place where we've considered all of this. And if we hear a delay for Gotham Knights, I'm in the position to think that fans may be disappointed, but at the same time may eventually start to fathom and understand the big challenges that game development pose for the developers and even for the publishers. And now we've added another layer of problems, which is basically the console makers. The console makers have had to deal with all of the issues that, have affected console sales. And now these have all imported themselves into our, favorite games that we've been waiting for so many years. It's quite the most unfortunate situation in a sense, but it's not the worst situation in the world. Honestly, there are other more pressing issues in the world to attend to. These are just video game IPs. Yeah, a little inconvenient, but we're hoping that at the end of the day, we're able to get these games, and, be able to enjoy them when they're ready. But that's basically a little analysis as to, what we will be seeing in the future here in a bit. Hopefully we'll get some announcements. I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Do you think Gotham Knights is going to get a delay? Or do you think it's, as they said, still on track for release in 2022? Talk to me. Peace out.